Does the trio of LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves actually work? And what are the Lakers going to do this summer in order to find out? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the LakersNation.com YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Busy summer, big summer for the Lakers as they try to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Joining me is Ron Gutterman. Ron, how are you doing? I know right now a lot of Lakers fans a little skeptical that LeBron, Austin, and Luka actually are going to work as a trio.
Yeah, I mean, it's after that playoff run, you get eliminated in 5 games and questions get asked about your team. This is what happens to every team who has a shorter than expected run.
Well, I think it's fair to say, like on paper, looking at those three guys together, there's some immediate concerns, and particularly the backcourt when you've got Luka and Austin together. But then when you pull the numbers and you look and see what actually happened when you had these guys on the floor, what was striking to me was that LeBron, Austin, and Luka as a trio was not as good as Luka and Austin together or Luka and LeBron together. Now, we should note that we have to take all these numbers with a grain of salt. This is a small sample size. I think the context matter, like who were they playing against in these games, which players were healthy, which were not, who were the lineups around these guys. There's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot more nuance to this. I don't take any of this as like gospel. This is simply what the Lakers are. If you put those two guys on and this guy off and all that, I think it's a small enough sample size to where we need to acknowledge that. But nonetheless, this is also not ideal when the team is not as good when you have the three of them on the floor together. Why do you think these numbers are coming out the way that they are?
Kind of the interesting thing to me is that it seems like, and you have a second post in this thread, right? That has
Yes.
more numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing all of these numbers and thinking, man, the Lakers are just really good when Luka Doncic is on the floor. Like Luka Doncic is just really good, which
Yeah.
obviously is not news, but yeah, I mean,
look at this. Luka. Now again, it's a small sample size, 331 possessions, but Luka by himself plus 18.6. No LeBron, no Austin. Meanwhile, Luka, the best combination with Luka and anyone was Luka and Austin plus 18.8, which is 0.2 better than Luka by himself. But again, the context certainly matters in those situations.
Right. And context matters a ton, because if you look at these numbers, you would actually say LeBron is the problem.
Right.
And I think anyone who watched Lakers basketball from February on would not have said LeBron is the problem. Like, that's not meeting the eye test, really. And so I think there's just more of a sample size that needs to happen to really figure out what's going on there. I think the concerns about Luka, LeBron, and Austin's fit for a full season are completely valid. I think it does lower the margin for error for the Lakers to be able to build a championship roster. But I think the Lakers can build a championship roster around those three. And this is kind of your shot to do it, because you have to make a pretty big decision about Austin Reeves pretty soon.
Yeah. Eric Pincus noted just the other day, yesterday, in fact, that, and not a surprise, but that Austin is expected to decline any type of extension that the Lakers would give him, which would be roughly 4 years, 90 million would be the most that they could give him. It's like 89 and change what they could give Austin Reeves, which then puts the Lakers in a difficult spot. Like if Austin winds up going into next summer as a free agent and getting, say, 30 million. Look, he put up what, 25-5 or 25-6, something like, over 20 points per game, pretty solid efficiency. Like the numbers would tell you he's probably worth that much money. But is he worth it if it doesn't work with him and Luka in a backcourt? That's where the Lakers might have to make a difficult decision and maybe look to make a trade. So again, when we look at this, though, we see Luka and Austin as a duo actually worked really well. And that's without even having like a rim protecting big, which is, I think, the key piece that everybody is talking about that the Lakers certainly need, and an important ingredient to make Luka and Austin work, Luka, LeBron and Austin work. Any of these guys, you need somebody to help protect at the rim because there's not enough perimeter defense there. But we saw these positive numbers with Luka and Austin together. Does that give you more optimism in a perhaps post LeBron future that Luka and Austin can work? Or is this just small sample size making it look better than it actually is?
Yeah, I'm worried it's more small sample size. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that Reeves can be the second star post LeBron, like kind of be the replacement for LeBron in that post era. I do think Reeves, to me, is kind of, he can be a third option on a championship team. He can be the second option on a very, very good team, like a playoff, a second round type team. I kind of think that's where he's at, and he could improve. I'm not saying that's like his ceiling, he's done, but like that's kind of where he's at right now, which is he could be a championship third option or a really good team second option. Um, and I think these on-off numbers, they're definitely interesting. They're not what I would have expected based on eye test and based
Yeah.
on skill set. But I do think it's small sample size, and I don't really see the Lakers trading Austin Reeves this summer unless there's like a really crazy deal out there that exists. Um, so I think we're going to get a bigger sample size to see kind of what's real and what isn't, and then the Lakers at the trade deadline may have to reevaluate if the bigger sample size from October to January shows that, hey, Austin Reeves is kind of like defensively, Luka and Austin are not going to work with LeBron, like this isn't going to work. You have then, that's your chance to kind of see what you can get for him, and if you can get a more defensive minded player, then maybe you have to make that choice. I think for now they're going to roll it with these three, barring something crazy, and let the sample size expand.
Well, and we especially have to note if Austin, assuming he does not pick up that extension this summer, he could walk away for nothing in 2026. And that's got to give the Lakers a bit more motivation to move on from him. Although that may also give teams pause against trading for him because they'd also be
Right.
worried about losing him in free agency. So it's a bit of a tricky situation there for the Lakers. But I do agree. I think what they're going to do this summer is they're going to try to answer the question, can these three guys work together? And then go from there. I think the Lakers will look at things and say, we haven't seen enough of the three of them together, and we haven't had a chance to really put the pieces around them that need to be there to have a truly optimized lineup and really give them a shot to click together. I mean, their best lineup, clearly the only lineup JJ Redick trusted, didn't have a center in it. It was LeBron. It was basically, you could look at it this way: four guys on the floor who were at their best, probably defending power forwards, and then Austin Reeves.
It was Austin Reeves and Luka's a point guard offensively, but defensively it was Austin Reeves and like 4 3-4s.
Yeah.
It's a really awkward lineup. And I will say that, the three of them together, there were a plus 1.3, which is obviously not ideal. Your
No.
three best players need to be better than a plus 1.3 together if you want to win a championship.
No.
But important context, like you say, the three of them never played with a really good center. The three of them never really, like, the best defender the three of them ever played with was Dorian Finney-Smith. And Dorian Finney-Smith is very good, don't get me wrong, but he's not getting any all defensive team, nods anytime soon. He's like a good defender, a even very good defender, but is not elite. So the fact that in 870 possessions, they were an above, a winning team with really a poorly optimized lineup around those three guys tells me that if they go out and get a really good center, if they go out and add a perimeter defender, that number could shoot up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I'm not. That's not to be overly critical of Rob Pelinka here. He used the analogy that they were trying to build a plane while it was in the air. And he's not wrong, right? I mean, you couldn't have predicted the Luka trade was going to be there for them. So I thought the roster was already mismatched. It already wasn't truly optimized, particularly when you came into the season with D'Lo and Austin in the backcourt and everything. And then the Luka trade falls in your lap, and you wind up you pull that trigger because of course you do, right? That's not, of course you make that trade. That's a trade you make 100 times out of 100, but you're going to wind up with a roster that's a little bit wonky. And I'll have people argue that, well, they should have done the Mark Williams deal. They should have gone through with it. We don't have eyes on the medicals. We don't know.
Right. We don't have eyes on the medicals. And also what we do have eyes on is basketball. And Mark Williams is a great player, and having a center would have been better than not having a center, of course. Sure. But Mark Williams is not some staunch rim protector.
No.
Never was. If you were getting Mark Williams, it was to optimize your offense and say, oh, we're going to be so good offensively that it almost doesn't matter that they're not a very good defensive team. That
Yeah.
was the game plan by trading for Mark Williams. So I think if we're going back to the drawing board, it's now let's go. That trade didn't happen. And if the way to make it a blessing in disguise that that didn't happen is you go out and get a center that can protect the rim.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what you need. And look, it was a tiny sample size, 101 possessions. But this is what I believe was the closest to a truly optimized lineup the Lakers had all season. Austin, Max Christie, DFS, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. They were plus 32.6. Again, a lot of noise in that. I'm not saying they were just dominant world beaters. 101 possessions is nothing, right? But I think it does kind of underscore what a truly optimized lineup can be and how important it is that the pieces fit, which again says Rob Pelinka's got his work cut out for him. He's got to find the pieces that truly fit alongside Austin, Luka, and LeBron. And if that doesn't work, that's when I think you can really come to the conclusion that that three-man trio is not viable.
And the beauty of trading for Luka and why you do this trade every time is because if they nail it this offseason, if they hit all the marginal pieces, they get the center, they get perimeter defense, they get shoot, whatever, and you get to February and your team is still not a championship contender, like they're going to be very good pretty much regardless. But if you get to February and your team's still not a championship contender, you have very clean books next summer and you have a 27-year-old Luka Doncic. So at the end of the day, life is still good. And you will still have the opportunity to build a championship contending team around Luka Doncic in the very near future. So I think the Lakers kind of have this cool opportunity of take this offseason, really try to hit all the margins, build a championship contender. And if it still doesn't work, and you know for a fact this core three doesn't work, you only have to stick with it for this year. You could trade Austin at the deadline. LeBron is, probably there's a good chance this is his last year too. And you can start over with clean books and Luka Doncic.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we'd be looking at here for the Lakers. That's the kind of flexibility that they've got now. That is, of course, if they don't wind up using their first round pick or they have a limited amount of assets, so their future flexibility could be negatively impacted by going and getting, the center that they need this summer. If they can't use a taxpayer MLE of like 5.6 million to go get that guy, that's going to matter. What decisions they make will matter in terms of how much flexibility they're going to have moving into the future. But you're right. There is a clear pivot point already set up here for not this summer, but next summer for the Lakers if this truly isn't working. But, Ron, I do think I'm seeing a lot of commentary out there that simply, the Luka Austin backcourt doesn't work. And I think on paper, you look at it and there's reason. I think there's real reason to be concerned about it. And with Austin's contract situation, there's real reason. I believe the Lakers need to be more open to an Austin Reeves trade than they have ever been. Don't think they have to trade him, but they have to be more open to the possibility. I think they will go into the season, though, with those three guys together. They'll try to optimize the lineup around them and then make some decisions midseason if it's simply not working out. But I don't think the Lakers are quite at the point where some fans are at right now, where they can definitively say this does not work. But I think we have to admit that there's reason for some concern here.
Yeah, I think if you're trading Austin Reeves because you don't like how he played against Minnesota, then you're overreacting. But I think if you're saying, hey, it's time to trade Austin because of the contract situation, I think that's really the most valid thing is, do you want to be the one to pay Austin Reeves $30 million, which he's worth it. He deserves that type of contract. But if you already have Luka Doncic, do you want to be the one to pay Austin Reeves $30 million? And now $80 million a year is going to two non-defenders. Like that. That's the calculus.
In today's NBA, can you have two non-defenders on the floor?
Right. And like you're seeing it with the Knicks right now. Brunson and Cat together have been atrocious defensively in the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's showing. And the Pacers are dominating those minutes. And it's like, those are two amazing basketball players. But if you have two non-defenders on the floor in the NBA in 2025, it just doesn't work.
Yep. And that's the challenge for Rob Pelinka, for the Lakers to figure out this summer. Can they really structure a roster around these three guys? Can you make that happen? And if not, well, then what moves are you going to make to react? But everybody give us your thoughts in the comments down below. LeBron, Luka, Austin. as a trio? Does it work? Is it viable? Or should the Lakers be looking to mix it up? Give me your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe right here. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.